cabin in a canyon, excavating for a mine. Well, to miner 49 and his daughter Clementine, like she wasn't like the fairy, and her shoes were number 9. Carrying boxes without topsnits, sandals were Clementine. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. Thou art lost and gone for dreadful sorrow. To the water every morning, just at night. Hit her foot against the splinter, fell into the full night. Ruby lips above the water, blowing bubbles soft and fine. But alas, I was no swimmer, so I lost my time. My daughter, oh my daughter, oh my darling Clementine, you are lost and gone forever, dreadful sorrow. In a churchyard near the canyon, where the myrtle bed entwined, there grow roses and the posies, fertilized by Clementine. In my dreams, she's still there for me, roving gardens smoking bright, and she rises from the water when I kiss my Clementine. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. Thou art lost and gone forever, dreadful sorrow. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Clementine. Thou art lost and gone forever, dreadful sorrow. Oh, in life you were my darling. Now you're gone. We're
There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am gonna see. Nobody else could miss her, not half as much as me. She cried so when I left her, it like to broke my heart. And if I ever find her, we never move apart. She's the sweetest little rosebud that Texas ever knew. Her eyes are bright as diamonds, they sparkle like the dew. You may talk about your Clementine and sing the songs to me, but the yellow rose of Texas is the only girl for me. Where the Rio Grande is flowing and starry skies are bright, she walks along the river in the quiet summer night. Oh, now I'm gonna find her, but my heart is full of hope. We'll do the things together we did so long ago. We'll play the banjo gaily, she'll love me like before. And the yellow rose of Texas shall be mine forevermore. She's the sweetest little rosebud that Texas ever knew. Her eyes are bright as diamonds, they sparkle like the dew. You may talk about your clementine and sing of Rosalie, but the yellow rose of Texas is the only girl for me. La 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 la.
My name is John Riley. I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go. Enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. And it was there in the foothills and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And there amidst all these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion, and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched beneath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin gold rod, right with the harp and the shamrock.
Okay, hi everyone, and today's our short class, and so let's make sure I don't forget that we do the class attendance, and so I need to go to Cyber Campus, log in, and go to I'll close these, and go to American History, and go to attendance, and go to week 5 and add, and your smart attendance number is 222. 222 is your smart attendance number. So let me 222. So stop share, go to chat. 222. That's your number. Okay, and so today is our short class. So we only have 50 minutes, and that means we have to do a lot in a short period of time. So let's go directly to the debate, and form into breakout rooms on the basis of what you wrote pro or con on your paragraphs for this week, so that you can practice your English a bit. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people wrote pro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wrote con. So let's divide into 6 groups, and let's see, and I will assign you manually. And room 1 will be pro, and that includes make sure pro one, yes, and then assign. So that goes Kim Tong Yoon is part of pro, and Park Ji-woon is also part of pro. Okay, and then pro 2, we'll make this one pro 2, and yes, and we will assign to pro 2, Kim Soo-yeon, and let me see if I can find Kim Soo-hyun, there we go, and Chang Ji-hye, and there we go. Okay, And this will rename Con 1 and assign to Con 1 Kim G, well, everybody else, 1, 2. Okay, assign to rename to this room Con 2. And okay, yes, we will assign 1, 2, 3. And assign to this room Con 3. Yes. Assign 1, 2, 3. And this one to a room Con 4. We will assign others and assign 1, 2, 3. And I think we need to assign also to here. Okay. So we did that right. And then assign to Con 2. Assign. Okay. Okay. So those are the. So please. Who's going to speak first for each group? So help each other prepare. And of course, we will vote as to which side won the debate after the debate. And so I'm going to flip a coin. So who's going to speak first for each group? Is it going to be the top is heads, tails is from the bottom of each group listed, and it is tails. So Pro 1, Pak Ji-un will speak for Pro 1 first. Pro 2, Chang Chi-hye will speak for Pro 2 first. For Con 1, and what happened there? I got to move somebody there. I'll move you to Con 1 here. For Con 1, Kim Chan-soo will speak first for Con 1. For Con 2, Ji Hwan-yu will speak first for Con 2. For Con 3, Shin Hae-bom. And for Con 4, Lee Hyun. So let me open the room. So please join those rooms. Please join your rooms. And please join your rooms and help that person who was assigned to speak, who's going to speak first for your group. Okay, that I identified is going to speak first for your group. And Pro, of course, only 4 people wrote Pro paragraphs. So that means Pro is going to be speaking quite a bit because they're going to respond to each person speaking for Con. And so everybody please join your groups and take a minute to help that first person prepare to speak. And then we will start the exercise. And as you're doing that, I want to make sure I got this thing set up to, you know what, I forgot to make the debate topic. So let me go ahead and vote here. Who won the debate? Texas. U.S. to protect slavery. And general vote, yeah, we'll do that today. Go to today. I forgot to do this earlier today. And go 10, and we'll make that 11. So please join your groups and help each other prepare. And Pro, Con, and neutral can't decide. And
so can I get assigned as well?
second. And okay, so save. Okay, so back to the, let's see who's not assigned. I will assign you to, are you Pro or Con?
I was pro, I believe.
Okay, then I will assign you to group 1, Pro 1. Okay, so you're assigned to Pro 1. Okay, so I will also write a statement. Pro is heads, tails is Con, and well, Kim Tong-un wants to be Pro as well. Okay, Kim Tong-un, I'll make you Pro 2. Okay. Okay, so join Pro 2, Kim Tong-un. All right, so heads, I am Pro, tails, I'm Con, and I am tails, so I am Con. So I will write a Con statement while you're preparing your statements. And okay, so Con. Okay. All right, so let me go back to the breakout rooms, and so you have 1 minute to finish up. So of course, you've all practiced your English because you wrote a paragraph. So you're prepared to speak. Five seconds. Okay, so let's flip a coin. Heads, it's pro starts first, and it's tails. Heads, it's con 1 or 2, and it's heads. So heads, it's con 1 will speak first. Then I drop my coin, and it is heads. So Kim Chon-soo, Kim Chan-soo, please make your con statement as to the debate question as to whether or not the U.S. began the war with Mexico, went to war with Mexico in order to protect slavery as the primary interest of the United States in starting that war. So I want to make sure we get that question opened up. And so let me close that. We go share screen and go back to the question here. So here's, you see the question. To South Koreans, Texas separate from Mexico to join the U.S. to defend slavery on Texas territory. So that is again, Kim Chan. Let's see, I got to find that person. So go back to that person, share screen. Oh, that's it. Breakout rooms. So Kim Chan-soo, please speak. Where's Kim Chan-soo?
Yes.
Okay. Please turn on your video camera so that we can see you speak.
In the battle of Armia, American were killed in tax disputes. This is unrelated to slavery. No matter how Americans provided the cost, killing 180 people of powerful country was virtually a declaration of war, and it provided a good excuse for the United States to expand its territory.
So it was not primarily about slavery, huh?
Yeah.
It was just it was a desire to expand American territory. You're saying?
No, they just killed by related to tax dispute.
Oh, tax dispute.
Yeah. Not about the slavery.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So,
well, okay, go on.
and they North, they didn't object to the expansion of Oregon and California, but only to the merger of Texas by considering their only interest.
Okay. Okay.
So therefore, I don't think Texas was separated to defend slavery in Texas territory.
Okay, so pro will speak next, and heads is pro 1, and it is heads. So Chung Song Hyun, or was it? Oh no, I think I asked Park Ji-yoon. Park Ji-yoon, please speak. Park Ji-yoon, where's Park Ji-yoon?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, turn on your camera, please.
I'm sorry, my camera doesn't work.
Okay, go ahead and speak.
Okay. Well, I personally believe that the reason why Texas separates from Mexico is to get involved in protecting the slavery politics. I think you need to know that the biggest reason why the Southern America defend institution is that the climatic condition of the South was focused to farm, especially cottons like that.
Mhm.
Due to the stability of climatic situation, the southern parts of America need numerous slaves to farm and harvest those things, such as crops or cotton. The farm of Southern America allotted their slaves properly, and they made soar the productivity per each slave. When you think about on this background, the government of Texas wouldn't want to lose the financial foundation just by a number of slaves.
Uh-huh. Because Mexico had made slavery illegal. The government in Mexico City had made slavery illegal. And I think in Wikipedia, it says they made slavery illegal in 1830. And of course, the American settlers have been moving across the border into northern Mexico for a number of reasons, including the fact that there were so few Mexicans living there. I think there were only like 3,500 Mexican settlers. I mean, Mexican Spanish family settlers in the northern half. Almost nobody lived there, aside from the Indian indigenous people who lived there. Among the European settlers, there were very few European settlers in the northern part of Mexico, and of course at that time everyone sort of dismissed the indigenous population as a factor in consideration about what to do in terms of exploiting resources. So okay, so who's next going to speak? Respond to Pro, and so we had. I should write this down. Who speaks so that I remember. Con 1, and so heads it's Con 2, and it is tails. So heads it's Con 3, and it's Con 3. So Shinhei Boom, please speak for Con 3 why Texas was not added to the United States to protect its slavery interests. Shinhei Boom.
Well, technically, the slavery was in Texas Republic before Texas decided to join the U.S. So it cannot be exactly said that Texas joined the U.S. accepted Texas as their one state to protect slavery in there or expand their slavery to Texas. It's more of a part of U.S. expansion to the West, so they can make their own way to the land of California.
Yeah, you're saying that Texas separated from Mexico and was independent from Mexico with help from the Americans, and then for a brief period of time, Mexico was an independent country. Texan people, they have this very proud self-image, and they are, Texas is a very powerful romantic symbol of American romantic self-identity as nationalists, as patriots, for good or bad. Texas, when you think of Texas, you think about cowboys, you think about the West, you think about the manifest destiny, an expansion of the America into the West. And it is the second biggest state today in the United States in terms of population. And it is a capital of the Republican Party. It is a strongly Republican Party state, even though almost half the population is not white when you include the Hispanics and the African-American population and the other immigrant populations moving into Texas. Still, it's a very strongly Republican state. And that means, for example, there's strong resistance in Mexico to wearing masks against COVID-19. Very strong resistance against requiring people to wear these masks as a requirement to go to school, which is interesting because it highlights something about American nationalism and American strong suspicion regarding central government control. And I think, as I mentioned in a previous class, that somehow goes back to the founding of the United States, when the United States Constitution was written, that particularly the southern states what are today the capital of the Republican Party and white nationalism in the United States, unofficial white nationalism, because they don't come out and openly say I'm a white nationalist. They just talk about the American creed. But the Republican Party is expressing in the American South that suspicion of central government control because of the concern that central government control was going to threaten their local economic property, and that included slaves. So this is all very controversial, but it's very important today because you have the strongest resistance against, requirements for people to wear masks to avoid COVID-19 and requirements to get vaccinated. Everybody should get the Pfizer or the Moderna or the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The government, they're very hostile to requiring American people in Texas to do this. And they're fighting and resisting. And I think it goes back to that suspicion or concern that the central government was going to threaten their local interests. And their local interests are focused on their property. And that means the slave-based economics. Now, of course, people don't defend slavery, but it's become part of, I think, the institutions of American political culture, that you should be suspicious of the central government, because the central government is going to threaten your interests, and your interests include all of the money you invested in slaves 200 years ago. Okay, so who's going to speak next for pro? How about, I think we had, so pro one, and so that's Chung, or do we have pro already speak? Oh, we should have Khan speak, sorry. So pro one spoke. And Khan, let's see, who's going to speak next for Khan? Heads is Khan too. And it is Heads. So G1U, please speak for Khan.
Sir, because her mic isn't working properly, can I speak instead?
Okay, yes.
So our group said that the reason why Texas became independent from Mexico and moved to America is because first, it's because of the difference they had with the Mexican government after their independence from Spain. So when Mexico was Spain's colony, there used to be a lot of Anglo-Americans immigrating to Texas, and they received a lot of lands, and they gained a lot of commercial benefits by having the cheap lands in Texas. And however, when Mexico became independent from Spain, the new Mexican government started to restrict their economic activities. And they started to, and obviously when there were a lot of Anglo-Americans in Texas, they kind of started to become a new country, separate country from Mexico. And they formed their own government to revolt against the new Mexican government. And that's where they became separated from Mexico. And also another reason that came up in our group is because of the systematic difference, because the new Mexican government did not have the satisfying government system that could help those Anglo-Americans. I think that is also where the complaints from those immigrants came to.
So you're Khan. Slavery was not the primary motivation for adding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you highlight the complexity of this issue. Okay. Pro. Okay, so pro one, go back to pro one. So heads is Kim Tong-un, and it's tail. So Chung Sung-hyun. Please, Chung Sung-hyun, please tell us why you think, in fact, yes, that was the primary motivation for Texas being added to the United States, was to protect its slave interests.
I'd like to first acknowledge Khan, because that was pretty interesting how there's like more than one viewpoint in this situation. But I say we should look at the result, the biggest result. The Missouri Compromise states that has a stipulation that whenever a new state comes inside the union, a slave state and an abolitionist state must come inside together. in order for the whole slavery question to be on, to be, you know, well, I don't want to see where we answer, but still, so that it will stay in compromise in the Senate. As a result, I mean, as a result, Texas was a slave state. And if you think about it, Texas is not really, you know, cash crop, you know, prime area. It's more like ranching area. But the fact that that place elected for slavery, I believe that speaks volumes.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning the Missouri Compromise here. I didn't, you know, have a chance to talk about it in class because, but I'm going to make sure that you can see this. So we do the share screen, and here is the Wikipedia entry for the Missouri Compromise. Again, it was from 1820, so you know, years before the Mexican-American War began, and that was the compromises as the student mentioned, that whenever a non-slave state was added from these territories that were being added, that there must also be a slave state added to the United States to balance the political power of the slave interests versus the anti-slave interests. And that was from 1820. And that was the compromise to keep America expanding out west while maintaining peace within the United States. And so, you know, when you look at the, again, this is very emotional topic in the United States. So I talked about romantic self-images and of American nationalism, American identity, and the role of Texas as one of these living symbols of American nationalism. You know, people become very emotional when you say, well, Texas was added to the United States to protect slavery. And it may or may not be true, or more, it's in a very complicated question, but, you know, there is a context for the expansion. Of course, these states were added after the American Civil War, right? This is the territory that was taken from Mexico. California was already a state in the United States. And when you look at the history of the American Civil War, you'll find, for example, that if I can find it here, I think, yeah, the Mexican-American War. You know, this is the Wikipedia entry, which I think you can see this, but I'll make sure I save it again just in case. Here is the Wikipedia entry for the Mexican-American War, and this person led the Anglo forces against the Spanish-Mexican government, and that person is, I think he comes up here, Sam Houston, and he is the leader of. He was the leader of the military forces fighting. And I'm looking for a picture of Sam Houston, and it should come up here. I thought he was on this page. Oh, he doesn't come up. Well, I'll just type in. I'll type in Sam Houston, and Sam Houston. You know, there's a big city and the fourth biggest city in the United States is named after him, Sam Houston. I think you can see that. So make sure that you can see that. Share screen, and so you see there's Sam Houston. So he became the governor of Texas when it was added to the United States as a state of the United States. He was the first and third president of the Republic of Texas, and one of the first individuals to represent Texas in the United States Senate. He also served as the sixth governor of Tennessee and the seventh governor of Texas, the only individual to be elected to two different states in the United States. He was governor of Texas when the Civil War began, and because he wanted to keep Texas in the United States against the South, not secede, not leave the United States to join the Confederacy, he was removed from office. He was removed from office, despite his glorious past as the leader of the resistance to Mexico and so on and so on. He was pushed out of office. So obviously slavery was a very important topic, a very important issue for the people in Texas. And so let me go back then to the breakout rooms and let me ask then Khan to speak, and let's see who. That's Kerr one spoke again. So let's go to Con 3 is heads, and it is heads. So G, I think we already had Chihei Boom speak. So let's do Con 4. speak. So Lee-hyun, speak for Khan against the argument that Texas was added to the United States primarily to protect slave interests in Texas. Lee-hyun.
We disagree with the agreement. Part of the agreement that Texas separates from Mexico to join the U.S. to defend slavery on Texas territory is might right. However, there is another reason why Texas separates from Mexico. It is there were more Americans in Texas than Mexicans at the time, and there were many conflicts between them. When Mexico was a Spanish colony, a lot of Americans migrate to Texas and live there. Americans experienced the danger of being expelled from Texas from Mexicans, but they established a new Republic of Texas. And Americans want to make Texas their own land. Therefore, Texas was separated from Mexico and entered the United States by Americans in Texas who wanted to join their original American Federation. So our group thinks there is another important reason, not a slavery.
Okay. And so let's then go to Pro and hear Pro's response. So how about we have two groups of Pro here, and heads is Pro 1, and it's heads. So Kim Tong-yoon, please respond to Khan with your Pro statement. Kim Tong-yoon.
Yep. Well, I thought.
Oh, you already spoke?
No.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
This is my first. So my statement is that white Americans occupied Texas, which was like Great Mexico territory, to do agriculture industries, and which slavery was banned. So the white Americans did slavery to supply labor through slavery. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is the fastest growing, well, it had been until the pandemic, the fastest growing part of the United States. In terms of economy, it was the place to go to get a job. You might not be paid very well, but the point I'm making is Texas is very, 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 very favorable and supportive of business interests and business. So they are making it very nice environment, political environment, social environment for businesses to invest, and that means Texas is also very supportive of corporations, and they do not support labor unions. Texas does not have strong labor unions, and there's great income difference between the rich and the poor in Texas. On the other hand, Texas was a place that you could always go to find a job, even if you don't have a college degree. You could go to Texas and find a job, and you could go to Houston, which was very easily regulations regarding business. There was very few restrictions on business investment. The point is that Texas has always been a place focusing upon this notion that's where Texas and the United States is about, individual achievement, individual material pursuit of happiness. Remember Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence, that we are fighting for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that means money. That means profit. Thomas Jefferson, the second president of the United States, the governor of Virginia during the Independence War, the writer of the Declaration of Independence, was strongly influenced by the philosophy and writings of John Locke. John Locke was a philosopher who was writing, let me see if I can, everything's got a Wikipedia page, so why don't I just open up John Locke here. John Locke was a philosopher who was explaining and justifying why the English were fighting against the Catholic king. And he was expressing the interest of the emerging business class. You can see 100 years before, 80 years before the American Independence War. And he's, if you go further in political science, you're going to read contract theory and democratic theory of political ethics and democracy, the notion of contract theory, meaning that we all agree as part of a written agreement, an agreement between the the authorities, the government, and me, that I will obey the government in return for the government protecting my life, liberty, and property. He was argued in his philosophy, in John Locke's political philosophy of liberalism, that considered the father of liberalism, right? That human beings have basic rights that are fundamentally given to them by God. And he's representing the emerging Protestant movement, that strong Protestant movement in Britain, English at the time. And those inalienable human rights were life, liberty. And he said that the ownership of property, like that's a fundamental right. The governments cannot just take your property. The king cannot just take your property because he's the king. No. Or the local lord, aristocrat, yangban. No, they cannot do that. And Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote the Declaration of Independence, said, well, you know, if we're going to go to war against Britain, we have to come up with good justifications and arguments that are very appealing to people. And it says here, he's the president, one of the founders of the United States, and he changed John Locke's inalienable right from ownership of property to the pursuit of happiness. But the point is that to become happy, you need to make money. And so that is very strongly reflected in the American Creed. In the American Creed that we highlighted, let me see if I can find that again, and go to screen share and make sure you can see that that American ideology that dominates was highlighted by this person, Seymour Martin Lipset, who died, 10 years ago. I used to use this book. It's been translated into Korean language, but it's an old book. It's from 1997, and this American creed is a strong word for belief. It's almost like a secular religion. In liberty, meaning government should not be involved in society. I mean, there should not be government involvement in society. Now, that isn't just because to protect your slave interests. It was also because America was founded by people who were reflecting the desire for religious freedom from being dominated by the king, because the king and the monarch would explain that he rules to make sure that you worship God in the right way if you're the subject of the king. And so these pilgrims and Puritans and migrants who came to America rejected that notion that the government should tell them how to worship God. And so America is dominated by these Protestant groups, these Protestant sects that, you see them reflected here in Korea because Korea is so influenced by America, right? The Presbyterians, the Methodists, the Baptists. America was founded by these different beliefs, groups of people that wanted to worship God in their own way, which of course also reflects the fact that these Protestant movements emerged along with the changing economy of Europe at the time. And they're trying to explain the changing world around them in terms of economics and society in ways they understand, which is religion, right? And so I'm not the first person to make this point that Protestant Revolution, the Protestant Reformation that began 500 years ago against the Catholic Church, was heavily influenced by the emergence of capitalism, and this is highlighted in the Protestant ethic. Let me again go to this Wikipedia, In the Spirit of Capitalism. This is a famous book. I think it's well known here in Korea. It's by Max Weber, one of the most important social scientists in history, up there with Karl Marx, highlighting that the Protestant ethic emerged, and the notion of that you can find out whether or not you are favored by God by doing well in society today. You can change your condition through hard work. The Protestant ethic of hard work and saving money and investing and building a business and that if you're successful, it means it's an indication that you're going to go to heaven when you die. So the point I'm trying to make is that America was founded by religious radicals who were using religion to explain and justify their responses to the changing world of late medieval, early modern Europe, particularly emergence of capitalism. And then people becoming aware of the fact that, the world changes. And the world changes because we can change it. And I have to justify that in the language of 400 years ago. I'm going to use religion because that's what everybody understands, right? Everybody knows about religion. And And so this is reflected in that legacy of particularly in the everywhere in the United States, but particularly in the American South, that this is what good fundamental American belief is in the American creed. Government is not heavily involved in society. Everybody has the equality of opportunity and respect. In other words, you don't have to be born to the Yangban family, the aristocratic family, in order to have the right to become prosperous and respected and admired and prosperous to pursue happiness. Government should not be involved in regulating the economy, because keep in mind, right, in late medieval, early modern Europe, the government, separating the government and the economy was not really something that people understood. It was just natural that the government was involved through tradition and the aristocracy controlling everything going on within society if they wanted to control it. Individualism, you set your own standards for happiness. In other words, again, not the government, not the state church, because there is not supposed to be a state church in America the way there is in Britain and in Catholic countries. Even in Germany, I mean, Lutheranism, the first Protestant religion, was still supported by certain princes in the different states of Germany, and the people should participate in government. So, and you find the strongest commitment to the American creed in Texas and in places in the American South, which, of course, not coincidentally, were the heart of slavery. But so let's we only have several minutes left. So as I mentioned, since a lot of Koreans in particular have ties, family ties to Canada as well as the United States, Seymour Martin Lipset makes that point that the American Revolution created two countries, not one, two. And one of the countries created was Canada. That Canada became the homeland for British aristocratic conservatism in North America, whereas Canada became the homeland of populist classical liberalism. And that was solidified with the American Revolution, the War Hawks of 1812, which we didn't really read about, the Andrew Jackson, and then the Civil War, to establish that there should not be ruling elites that have the right to rule over other people, at least on paper, right? That, you know, Black people at least should be considered American citizens, that there's not a natural ruling class as the American Southern plantation class was assuming, basically. But whereas in Canada, of course, you had the triumph of British conservatism. Canada did not join the American Revolution, even though the Americans attempted to entice Canada to join the American Revolution. The United States attempted to annex Canada in the War of 1812 and was defeated in their attempt to annex Canada. And then the Dominion of Canada under the Queen of England, Britain, Queen Victoria, was still, and the monarch of Great Britain is still formally the head of Canada to this day. You know, this traditional hereditary monarchy position. So, okay, so, and so he makes this point that Americans are among the most religious, the most optimistic, patriotic, rights-oriented, individualistic people in the world. They have some of the highest crime rates in the world because you're supposed to be able to do whatever it takes to get ahead. They have low voter turnout, but they have high participation in voluntary associations, whether it be churches and clubs. They have they're among the wealthiest countries, but they had until recently high levels of social mobility. The Americans will break rules to win because rules are meant to be broken. The idea is to be successful, but also be very moralistic, that God favors me if I'm successful, because, you know, going back to the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. And so he highlights how the Americans are very moralistic about certain issues, like about religion, for example, even though at the same time they are also willing to break rules to get what they want. So some of the highest crime rates in the world. So yeah, so he says that the American creed is something of a double-edged sword. It fosters a high sense of personal responsibility, independent initiative, and volunteerism, even as it also encourages self-serving behavior, atomism. Look, I don't care about anybody else but myself. That's the atomism, and a disregard for communal good. There is no such thing as a communal good. There's what I want to do, and I don't want to wear masks, and you can't make me. And you can't make me get a vaccine if I don't want one. right? For against COVID-19. And so, all right, so now to get set up for the next exercise. Oh, before I forget, let's vote then. So please vote on this topic. So make sure we stop share and you can see the screen. So who won the debate? So please vote. Pro, con, neutral, cannot decide. Texas was added to the United States to protect the slave interest as the primary reason. So, we'll spend 1 minute on that. Well, not 1 minute, 30 seconds. Everybody should be, I don't want to, 1 minute is a lot of time in a 50-minute class. So 20 more seconds. I'm using my stopwatch. 15 seconds. Watch. I'm using my watch. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. Okay. So there you see the results. Pretty much evenly split. Well, no. 4 is con. Most of you think, yeah, or the majority, well, a plurality of you think that slave interest was the main reason for joining Texas to the United States. Okay, so now to get set up for next week's exercise, here is another stop share, go back to breakout rooms, and then recreate. I'm going to create 5 rooms and assign them automatically. So here we go. And room 1 is renamed. We will call this the Lincoln administration. We're going to the American Civil War. Room 2 is Northern workers. Room 3 is, let's see, let me go find out remind myself what the Northern, Southern plantation owners. Okay, we'll call you Southern plantation owners. And room 4 is Northern factory owners. And who else is that? What is the Northern factory owners and merchants? Or did I screw that up? I think I did. So sorry, plantation owners. Plantation owners. Rename, yes. Room 4 is Northern factory owners and merchants. Yes. And room 5 is, what do I want to rename room 5? I want to call you Western farmers. Okay, so you will be Western farmers. And let me send you the exercise that you need to study to prepare for your appeal to vote for your candidate in the upcoming presidential election. So I'm going to, please open all the rooms. Please join the rooms. Lincoln, Northern workers, Southern plantation owners, please join the rooms that you've been assigned to. Join your rooms so I can send you the files. Okay, so Lincoln administration, and I'm going to join Lincoln administration, yes. File. And we go to, okay, Lincoln administration, and we go to Lincoln administration, Lincoln, all right. Okay, so you got the files there. And so back to breakout rooms, leave Lincoln administration, chat, and wait for the window to, so Northern workers, computer, Northern workers, there we go. So please download the files. And now I will leave the breakout room, go to Southern plantation owners, join. Okay, Southern plantation owners, wait for the silly, okay. Okay, Southern plantation owners, there you go. Okay, so there you are, Southern plantation owners, download that file, please. And then to back to breakout rooms and Northern merchants and workers, join.
쓰면은 뭐 어려웠고 꼭 이제 그 교수님 항상 소이슈 띄워놓고 뒤에 뭐 말을 계속 하시는 것 같은데
Okay. And there you
아,
go.
설명을
And then back to Western farmers. Join Western farmers. Join Western farmers. Western farmers. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to ask you, I think that's everybody, right? Everybody's gotten their file, right? And Northern Workers, I gave you already your file, I think, right? Chat and Northern Workers, just to make sure that I did that because I'm not completely certain. Northern Workers. Okay, okay, so and now I'm going to leave the breakout rooms, close all the rooms, and send you all another file, which is the burning issues to consider in the 1860 election coming up in 1860 United States on the eve of the American Civil War. And so please download those files that I sent you and the issues for you to consider in terms of who you're going to support in the election of 1860. And keep in mind that there are 4 people running for president of the United States in the election of 1860. And so let me open up that file. And so we go to screen share, share the screen. And here is the Wikipedia page for the election of 1860. And these are for Abraham Lincoln, John Breckinridge, Lincoln for the Republican Party, Breckinridge for the Southern Democratic Party, Constitution Party, John Bell, and Democratic Party is Stephen Douglas. So who are you going to support in the upcoming election in 1860? And of course, we know he would win. And when he won, that would cause the start the Civil War. Let me send you all another file as the last file to send you here. And that is the issues. Okay. So please download also this file. And that's it for today. Okay. So that's all. And please study those files and be prepared to prepare your position on each of those issues in that last file that I sent. Okay. Any questions? If not, ciao.